Hello, welcome back to Let's Talk More on Monday. My name is Ariana Cruz, and I am the owner of More Magazine, where we are working to make opportunities reachable for everyone. Today, I am joined by two of our contributors from Issue 2, Education. We jumped into sustainable living. We talked about sustainable fashion. We talked about women's health, sex ed, education in schools, public, private, wherever you are. And today we're going to be jumping into the article that Danielle wrote on women's health that Sherine actually modeled for. So I'm super pumped to have kind of both sides of the creative together for this. As we've been putting these together, sometimes we only have a writer from like one story and a writer from another story. And so I love that we're kind of getting to focus in on one topic together, especially as a few years have passed and we've grown as women, we've grown in what we know, we've grown in the way that we advocate for ourselves. And so I'm thrilled to have both of you. Thank you so much for joining.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, of course. Before we got started, I said we've had you guys both on the pod before, and so I love that both of you are back. But for any first-time listeners, Sherine, do you mind introducing yourself a little bit?
Of course. So my name is Sherine Munroe. I am a compliance and contracts manager. So I do work in the legal side. You can find me on LinkedIn at Sherine Munroe, where I do occasional updates with what I'm doing at work and how I'm growing as a professional.
Awesome. Thank you. Danielle, what about you?
I am the marketing manager of Hotel Carmichael up in Carmel, Indiana. So I work in the hospitality industry. So people first is kind of always who I've been. And my mission as I bring a little bit more creativity to Carmel.
I love it. It's awesome. And I think it's so cool because I've met both of you. I mean, it's been years now, but to have met you both in creative spaces and then seeing us all kind of grow, we all met in college, to our professional setting and seeing the ways that we continue to ignite some of that creativity in what we do, how we express ourselves, how we show up in different spaces, I think is so cool. I want to just jump into it. So we talked about women's health. Danielle, you did it was a personal essay with a lot of facts and a lot of things that you would learn at that point involved with it. Do you mind sharing a little bit about like how you landed on that topic?
Yeah, I have a few different autoimmune diseases. Hashimoto's and PCOS are just kind of two of the front runners that have historically caused a lot of uphill battles, trials and tribulations for me. And it's something that I'm incredibly passionate about because the lack of education is so prevalent for anybody who experiences any kind of hormone irregulations or anything. I have so many times said to so many of my friends that finding a doctor who's going to listen to you is so important. It's the same kind of concept of speed dating, right? You have to trial it out until you meet someone who actually hears you, listens to your love language and actually sees and understands what your needs are. And that's something that if I can continue to tell that to younger women who are struggling with their hormones or just looking to kind of grow in their relationship with their health and physical health, mental health, women's health in general. That's kind of just big passion of mine to make sure that people are fueled with the resources to help drive them to where they need to go for their own personal goals.
100%. I think it's so important to note too that this was a very personal story that you told, but it impacts so many different women, so many different people. What was it like? And I'm going off script because I know I told you guys the questions before we started, so I'm already kind of jumping the boat. But what is it like taking something that is so intimate for you and then opening that door for conversation with other people? What was that like?
I have always been a person that believes if I can share my story and connect with one other person, then it's worth being vulnerable. Vulnerability is an incredible strength, but also like in that same breath, know your boundaries. As women, we don't always follow with those boundaries. And so recognize who you deserve to give that space to. My dog agrees with me. If you're hearing her, I'm so sorry.
No,
she's
great.
Like, that's right, Mom, talk about boundaries. But it was It was a big deal. And I think that I have kept that same trend through a lot of different experiences in my life, through violence experienced by women, through what being laid off has felt like, relationships, those, all the different intimate pieces of who we are and kind of what our society makes feel like a big deal. I will say that I think that there's been so much community and inspiration through social media that when we wrote this initial article, it was kind of like the just ramping off with from COVID and TikTok really kind of taking over. And the amount of people that I've been able to connect with and reach through those platforms had made me realize how important it is to share your whys, your stories, because again, you never know who is struggling with something. You never know who is looking for resources. And if I can be a voice that helps get someone to the point where they realize that they need to take accountability and control of their own life, then that's worth it to me.
100%. And I think we've talked about Mariah Taylor a few times. Amazing human being. She's also one of our past contributors and just the creme de la creme of people to know, and an incredible artist at all the things that she does. But she had gone through a life-changing experience with her health, and she was so open about it online. And I think that it was so cool to see her talk about it because she does have a following. She does know a lot of people, and a lot of people know her. And for her to go through that with her hands open for anyone who wanted to hold them as she walked through it, it was so cool. And I mean, like you said earlier, like it opens doors when people can see other people experiencing similar things. Sherine, with your work, you work in a space where we talked about last time on the pod that we're trying to normalize hiring people who maybe just work in a different way than that we do. How have you seen storytelling in the way that Danielle's sharing? How have you seen that open doors for other people? And how do you feel like it's able to empower people to ask more questions?
I feel like when we don't open that conversation or we don't speak about anything at all, everything's like, oh, well, and to be fair, to each their own. If you want to share your story, amazing. You took a lot to do that because a lot of people are just not comfortable sharing that. But I feel like also we don't know the knowledge that each of us hold that maybe, Danielle knows something that I'm like, I have no idea. And she has the answers. And if I just had said something, like, oh, okay, well, that makes me feel better. Or she's someone I can consult or have point me in a different direction. So that has been very interesting for me to see. It's just like information is wealth. Go ahead and just say what you want to say. Just speak. Speak. If you even need to pull somebody to the side, somebody knows somebody, or somebody knows somebody that has dealt with the situation or is dealing with the situation. So, trying to use, your own mind to differentiate, okay, can I speak to this person or not? I also feel like just as women, we should all just want to kumbaya and just talk to each other about how we're feeling or what we're going through, because we all have the same body. Now, we might have different health issues, some of a different caliber than some, but also we are all learning from each other, because sometimes it might be like, oh, well, that will never happen to me, or maybe it's happened to your grandma or your mom or so forth. And you never know, oh, maybe this does run in my family. Maybe I should check it out. So, it's just good to have that information out there to share with somebody, because somebody is dealing with something. We're not all alone in our journey.
100%. I love how you even tied it to like, it might run in the family, because I think in some households talking about like mental health, and mental health can be passed on. And if you don't talk about it, then you won't know how to prepare. And I think mental health is healthcare. And if you don't talk about it, then you don't know about it. And I think that it translates both ways. And so I think especially as we are now mentors in different spaces and we are part of shaping conversations in different rooms, it is so incredible to hear that both of you are ready to have these different conversations and share experiences, because we learn from each other. Like you said, we're better together, and opening space for that, it changes lives in ways that we don't even realize, and sometimes we don't even get to see that impact. Sherine, I mentioned this earlier. We met when we were in college. We met through ASU fashion show.
Oh, yeah.
We were both, serving. I said that in my head earlier, and I was like, I want to say that, but then I said it again before the call, and I was like, that is so cheesy. But here we are. I said it. State facts. But what was it like bringing something that is seemingly unrelated to the story, and then having to kind of work through bringing yourself to this article where what you're creating visually is part of a dialogue that a lot of women were looking to have and are having now? I know when we did it, and we'll drop the article link in the show notes below, but you were being modeled with all these different fruits and flowers, and we were having a lot of conversations on set about the areas that we were identifying and highlighting and what that meant to us and different things like that. What was that experience like?
I think that was such an amazing experience because, putting the fruits on my body, for sure. Very expressive. For me, the one that was like very impactful for me was definitely the uterus, because I have interesting cramps. And, it's, how should I say this? Having a uterus, and, some women, they have, their period for 3 days. I love that for you. I have no pain. Love that for you. But for me, my body has been through so many cycles. I used to bleed for 12 days when I was in high school. First day, second day, I couldn't move out of bed. I couldn't even pick up the remote. I was in so much pain. Like, I'm thinking it's normal. And my aunt that was living with at the time, she was like, that is not normal. It's supposed to be 7 days. She's like, let's go to the doctor. I'm like, no, it's fine. We're just going to let nature take its course. As I got older, I realized around 2021, my body has changed. My cycle has changed. I've done nothing different. I eat the same. I'm actually less active, and my days got shorter. It went to like 9 days. I'm like, okay, all right, we'll deal with it. And now fast forward to 26-year-old, I bleed for like 5 days. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Yeah, but we're going to go with it. So do I still have the same amount of cramps? Yes, it's not as bad, but the uterus for me, very, very impactful. I let her, she controls me. I call her she controls me. Whatever she wants to do, that's fine. If she wants cupcakes for the first day, we're going to get cupcakes. If I have 20 minutes to get it, we're going to go get it. It is what it is. But that was very impactful for me. Also, the thyroid. I never knew how much the thyroid affects the woman's body. So, being on set that day, I was like, wow, okay, I'm learning something today. So that was very impactful for me.
Yeah, and I think too, it's wild because I was reading some study, or maybe it was a TikTok or whatever it is, but it was some kind of compilation of information that was talking about how like women will go through so much pain, and we're like, oh, well, it's probably fine because we have other shit we need to do. And it blows my mind. And you can see the gags of like men trying those like period cramp things, and they're keeling over, and it's like, yeah, we go to work, we still go work out, we like do X, Y, and Z, saving the world, all while managing this. And I would love to hear from both of you when that moment was that was like, oh, this is not fine, this is not normal, or maybe like a conversation where you were like, enough is enough, like I need to ask questions. And what did that look like? What did that feel like?
My big moment where I was like, this is not okay, was I was actually driving home from class. I was a commuter student in college, so I was driving home from my APY, and I am on 69, and I am like keeled over the steering wheel, absolutely like hyperventilating, in so much pain, so confused of what's happening. I'm calling my mom and my dad, being like, do I need to go straight to the hospital? I don't know what's happening. I don't feel good. Like, this is not normal. And so I drive home because they're like, we're going to take you. We're going to figure this out. So I drive home, and I can't walk. I cannot walk I cannot get myself out of my car. So I crawl into my house, into the living room, and I lay on my back until someone gets home. And I am like hyperventilating in so much pain, thinking that my appendix is exploding or something inside of me is absolutely losing it. And my dad and my sister get there and they pick me up, take me to the emergency room. And the doctor, and I think I actually included this in the article, the doctor was like, I think you're fine. Does not listen to me. He then was like, maybe we should do an ultrasound on your legs to see if you have a blood clot. I'm like, I'm telling you, it's my stomach and like my uterus that is hurting.
Mhm.
Did not look at my uterus at all. Sent me home with Tylenol. That was it. And that's when the first moment was that this is so much more than just what a male doctor can experience for me. And that's when my speed dating started trying to find the right kind of doctor to make sure that I was addressing these different concerns. I had small cysts before, that I didn't necessarily think of them as cysts, with me having endometriosis and already having kind of really extreme periods, kind of like you were mentioning. I just kind of wrote it off. But then after I get to a doctor who was actually looking at my ovaries, I had a cyst the size of an orange on my ovary. And your ovary, if you don't know this, is actually the size of an almond. So this huge cyst that was sitting on my little almond ovary was about to tear off my entire ovary, and we were just going to like throw it out the window. Had that doctor looked and done an ultrasound in the correct place, there would have been different things that had happened and put in place for the preventative pain to be able to take some relief away from me. But at that time, there was none. And I think that was the biggest eye-opening moment, that it is me who is in control of advocating for my health, making sure that I'm talking to the right people, that if I have a concern, it's actually being addressed and not just thrown under the rug, which is how I felt that day. Huge, awful, gross.
I'm so sorry that was your experience. And I remember reading that, you're right, you did include that in there, because I like literally sat back from my laptop when I was reading the draft and I was like, what in the hell? Like, it's insane. Yeah. And just the way that people who are not experiencing what we're experiencing are able to be like, it's probably fine. Because I know I've been in that position before. And I am sure, like, I can't be the only one who's like sitting there and I'm like, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I am fine. Maybe, am I being dramatic? Am I like, is this somehow my fault?
Yes, that is a hard piece that comes with any kind of like severe cramps or cyst ruptures or anything with women, because we're constantly told we are over dramatic and our experiences and our emotions are too big. And I hate that you say that to yourself, because I mean, we've all been there, but that's something that we can work together to try and change that narrative for the women in our life.
Agreed. Sherine, what is something about women's health that you've learned that surprised you or continues to surprise you?
Wow. Actually, a couple of days ago, I learned some new information that women can have I think it's a decidual cast. So if you don't know what that is, it's like, it's your uterus lining. So when you have a period, it sheds, slowly.
Yeah.
But it can come out all at one time, like a big clot, the shape of a triangle, and it hurts so bad. I just found this out 2 days ago. I'm like, what is happening?
A triangle?
Yes. Like your whole period is covered.
This is the shape of your uterus. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all come out at once as a triangle. And I'm like, wow. And some people are like, yeah, I had to sit on the toilet for hours till it came out. And I'm like, okay. Interesting. It's like we're always learning something all the time. I also learned that this was a couple months back, that when the egg shoots out, the fallopian tube, it's like catching. It's not actually connected. It's like the egg shoots out and it catches the egg. And I was like, oh, thought they were connected. Playing catch every time. Like, all right. Okay. They don't really teach that in school.
No.
Based on the high school I went to anyways, they're like, okay, you can get SCR, STD, wear a condom, don't have a baby. That's pretty much it. Like, the pains of labor, all of that. Like, I didn't even know your uterus can fall out of place and you have to push it back in. Like, there's so many things in women's health that I feel like it's not being told to educate us, because we always think, oh, maybe I'm just being dramatic, because maybe not. Maybe something is actually happening with your body that you're not familiar with or anyone around you is familiar with. I think it's very important to share women's health education more frequently. There's so many things to know, whether it's about labor, period, PCOS, endometriosis. There are so many things that we need to know about. For example, in my family, in the women, fibroids is a thing. It's my grandmother. So now I'm like, okay, so all of the women have it. I am probably predispositioned to have that. So it's like, I'm going to have to watch my health and, have that thorough checkup later on, because it is a possibility for me. So, I've seen from my aunt, she can barely eat, red meat, or period is very heavy, and, change in diet. And it's so much. And it's like for us, it's like, we want to not tell anybody. It's very secretive, but sometimes it's like, I don't even know how to deal with this. Like, I'm not sure. I just heard, I'm like, okay, maybe surgery is the option. I don't know. But then the other day I was at the gym and I overheard a conversation of a woman saying she had fibroids and she did surgery to get it out. And then she came to find out it came back. So I'm like, oh, so that's not just a one and done solution. Everybody's body's different. So
Yeah.
you're always learning something. I'm like, there needs to be a big encyclopedia. so I can skim through it when I'm feeling something.
Yeah, and it's wild too, because I feel like as we're in school, we have this very short education on it, and it's never as open of a dialogue as I feel like they make it sound like it is. And if we could ask questions and like have almost that Socratic seminar around table of it, we would hear what other people were experiencing or what it was like. Or like, I even think back to middle school when we'd have these conversations. It was only in the locker rooms with like your best friend that you'd be talking about your period, and like that's the only other person that you're really bouncing ideas off of. Whereas if you're able to have those conversations in bigger groups, then you're able to hear more experiences and more stories. And there was some meme the other day that was like, who remembers this book when you were like 12 or 13? And it's like, I can't even think of what the brand is, but it's like when you get pubic hair and armpit hair and you get a period and like your nipples start to change because you're becoming a woman and all these different things. I want one for when I turn 25. My body changed so much in my 20s. And like you were saying, like we're just learning so much, even if you have a child, pregnancy, and all the different ways your body changes. One of my friends, she's a runner and she was pregnant, and she sent me a Snapchat and she's like, so apparently my abs split or whatever. And I was like, stop. Like, I don't even have abs and I'm stressed. It's why, Sherine, I thought you were frozen for a second. No, that's just the reaction. It's insane. And it's wild to me that somehow we have this education in this very small silo. We get a book. I feel like everyone got the book at some point, and there's a boys book. And then after that, nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, best of luck to you.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things when it comes to how we can continue to kind of help each other through this educational piece of what is happening to our bodies is remember that speaking is not shameful. What's happening to our bodies is not shameful. There is nothing wrong with you making a choice to make a change, or needing to try a new diet with the assistance of a dietitian or a nutritionist, or trying a new medication. There is nothing wrong with you doing what you need to do for your health goals. But it's really important to make sure that if you are speaking on it, that you're speaking on it in a way that is inclusive to people, that you're making sure that you're not creating a negative narrative, that you are making sure that doors are open for people to continue to have those kinds of conversations. And you're right, Ariana, like there is nothing to support women as they experience these different journeys. It's almost like we need a Women's Health for Dummies book. As stupid and awful as it sounds, because we're obviously very intelligent women here. We don't need a book for dummies, but there needs to be a place for women to be able to experience and get healthcare advice rather than just through kind of like the secret doors that are continuously locked and slammed in faces. And gatekeeping, because I love using that word at this time of, social media. No, it's important. And I wish that there was something that we could do to like make this switch on a dime, but it's continuing these conversations to make sure that people have resources to be able to find what they need to know to support their own bodies.
100%. I think these conversations are so key. And so again, thank you both so much for joining and sharing. Before we wrap up, and Danielle, you started to kind of tap into it a little bit, I'd love to hear ways that both of you would encourage women to advocate for themselves, or ways that you have found that you advocate for yourself in different settings.
For me, I would say, and this can also tie back to what Danielle just said, be mindful, no matter what woman, girl it is, to be open-minded about what they're saying. I feel like also as women, we can sometimes make each other feel shameful for what we're saying, what we're experiencing, from the smallest thing, from an infection, or maybe I don't know, my body's doing this, or maybe it's, I don't know, deodorant or facial hair or whatever it may be. No matter how big or how small, I think we need to be very sympathetic and empathetic towards each other. We have to have that open space, because once one of us or some of us start to make us feel like, oh, she has that, oh my gosh, that's gross, or what, it's going to close that door to being open. It's I'm not going to want to say anything anymore because I feel embarrassed. You just made me feel embarrassed. I don't want to, I'm just going to sit with my problem. I'm not going to do anything. So I feel like just open arms, open arms to each other, treat each other with kindness. We all have our own body issues. Sometimes we're not even comfortable in our own body, whether it's a time of the month or a time of the day. It's okay. We've all been there. We can understand each other. And I think that's very important.
Love that. Thank you.
Of course.
Ariana, I need you to repeat the question. Oh my gosh. I'm sitting over here just like, yes. And I'm like, what was the question?
Truly. Well, I mean, I think, Sherine, you said it so well too. Like, to make space, you have to create space and hold that space unconditionally. If you say you're going to be a person for someone, like, be that person for them. And we were kind of talking about like something that you would leave our listeners with, that you have found that you're able to advocate for yourself, or words of encouragement to help other women advocate for their health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah,
I've heard so many stories, people close to me or people I don't even know. They're like, oh, they made me feel embarrassed, they made me feel ashamed. And it's just like, why? Like, it's okay to just embrace each other. I'm here for you. Let me give you a resource. Do you need my help? Whatever it may be, there's nothing to be ashamed of, because sometimes our body even just malfunctions because it just wants to malfunction, and that's okay. But as long as we help each other get there, that's fine.
Yeah, the body sometimes oddies. And
Bodies.
Here's what it is.
Body does body. Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that I could offer as a piece of advice is try something new. And by that, I don't mean go and start the new trending diet, like hop on a keto bandwagon. Like, that's not what I mean when I say try something new. It's look at what your habitual patterns are. Look at where you've been getting your advice, how you've been getting your advice. If you feel that you've made changes and impacts from those, something as simple as seeing a nutritionist versus a dietitian. The advice that you're going to get is going to look different. Something as seeing a MD versus a DO. Maybe more holistic medicine is going to be something that's going to be better for the problems that you're addressing. It is asking for, when we talk about advocating, it's asking for blood tests. It's asking to check your thyroid levels or your vitamin D or vitamin B or whatever kind of levels. If you want to do a full metabolic panel, ask for it. I think that at the end of the day, the time that you have with your doctor or whatever medical professional that you're working with, it is up to you to ask for what you want rather than wait to get the suggestion from them when you get it. I think that it is truly a partnership. You live with your body every single day. They see your body 15 minutes, maybe once a year if you're not a regular goer. Like me, I'm sick of the doctor's office. But something like that is important. Switch it up, try something different. Maybe if it's something where you are regularly going to the gym and you're feeling like this isn't working out for your body, try Pilates, try hot yoga, try weightlifting, try more cardio. Go crazy, do a trampoline class, okay? Like change it up for your body and give yourself the time that you need to, 1, heal, 2, rediscover yourself, and 3, live as a child. Sometimes like that is the biggest thing that I will say when it comes to women's health is that it feels big and it feels scary and it feels like the weight of the world is sitting on your shoulders for the one day that you want to have kids, that you have to at 25 years old make all of these plans for a future kid that you don't have. But you have to remember to be 25 years old. And even at 25 years old, you have to remember and acknowledge and heal from the 16 years old, 17 years old, 18 on. And even if that's a 13-year-old, but if you got your period at 13 and she's been struggle busting ever since, go jump on a trampoline. I swear it's going to heal a piece of you. But continue to do something that shows yourself love in a way of understanding that, yes, your health is incredibly important, but that also combats to your mental health. Don't let it take over your life. Continue to love yourself, nurture yourself, and play, have fun. And that is the biggest thing that I will say.
Amazing. That was good. That was good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Sherine, you shared that we can connect with you on LinkedIn, and we will also include that in the description below. Danielle, how can the good people listening keep up with you?
Yeah, you can follow me. I have multiple Instagrams because Instagram really likes to deactivate my account lately. So you can follow me on Danielle Indy on Instagram, or you can follow me Danielle Berry on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. I encourage our listeners to head over to our Patreon to save a seat with us as we are setting the table for the women to come. And we'll be digging deeper with Sherine and Danielle after this. Thank you both so much for joining.